Welcome. This is MoneyHeart, where we explore the emotional side of money. I'm Camille Diaz, and today we're discussing investing in your health. My guest is Dr. Tanya Jackson. She has a bachelor's from University of Oklahoma and her doctorate from Arizona Health Sciences. She's been practicing physical therapy for 20 years. Tanya, welcome to MoneyHeart.
Hi there.
I got the sense when we talked that most people don't really think about their health until they get sick. And I know you kind of have a story that runs along those lines. Can you share your story with us to get us started?
Yes, I can. And boy, do I have one. I'm in the health field, right? Just as she suggested, just as Camille said, I'm a physical therapist. And it was interesting because I got into the health field to help people with their health. And the way that physical therapy works, at least in the state that I practice in, we get referrals from physicians. We can have people just walk in, but referrals from physicians, and they come in for whatever problem that they're, having. I was noticing lots of illness in my patients coming in, more systemic stuff, not necessarily orthopedic, which is what I do, but more systemic stuff. And I'm thinking, I wonder if this is having an effect on their joint condition or muscle condition or whatever it might be. At the same time, I was a patient in the same medical system that I worked in with constant allergies, respiratory issues, sinus infections all the time, couldn't stay healthy in an early age, right? Which didn't make sense to me. So something was, I'm like, okay, my patients are not well and I am not well. So, but that's what it took for me to wake up and go, okay, one, I think we're missing something in the medical community and we're trying, and that's a whole lot better now. But two, what am I missing? What's going on? Because I was, late 20s or late 30s, I was fit, but I was on a lot of prescriptions and I was catching everything. So I knew my immune system was not even working well. So that's what really opened my eyes to start taking a serious look at how do I take care of myself and what am I supposed to be doing? And you would think a healthcare professional would know this, right?
Right.
And I didn't get educated about that. So it really did take kind of a crisis for me, and my patients were in the same boat. When they came to me, I started, because that little light bulb was going on, I'm like, okay, have you guys been talking about your lifestyle? No. So, I mean, I'm not blaming anybody. It's our responsibility, right?
Sure.
So yeah, it does take a little bit of a wake up call sometimes. And it's kind of like when your kids are going to make a mistake because you made that mistake and you could probably prevent it, but they don't hear you, right? It's right. Kind of that analogy. And it is really just the fact of how sometimes life works. But yes, I would say most of us don't. We have to have something nudge us or make us not be able to do what we wanted to do before we wake up. Yeah, exactly.
It has to hit the top of the priority list.
It does.
It does. Yeah. So how can we invest in our health either before we get to that point, or maybe if we're already seeing that happening and we're like, oh, geez, I'd really like to do this differently. What are some steps that we can take that might make sense for us to do?
Well, that's a big open
You're right,
question.
it is.
It's a big open question. So I'm gonna steer with what I've learned, what I've seen in the medical community that I'm in.
Right.
And the cool thing is there are many controls that we have as just an individual consumer. A lot of this is in our control. So for instance, when I started looking at why am I sick, I started researching health. The number one killer in the United States is heart disease. The number two, and the number two is cancer, and the number three is accident. So the number one, heart disease. So when I started looking at what was killing us and what was making us sick in the United States, 80% of heart disease is preventable.
Wow. That's a lot. That's like most of it.
Right.
Most of it. So we can't just blame genetics.
We cannot blame genetics. We cannot blame how we were raised. We cannot blame a lot of things. We can blame what we do, right? Preventable with lifestyle. Okay, so if you go and research this, trust me, there's more than you can possibly get into. So when we research this, you'll find a lot of really the steps that we can take are all lifestyle. And it is really what our grandma said. Eat your fruits and vegetables. Do we do that anymore? No.
Not a lot.
I raised my kids in a fast food lane because we were playing football and soccer and we had this practice and this thing and everybody was working but I grew up in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, my mom stayed home. Our cultures are different now. They just are.
Right.
Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong, but it's just what is. But the cool thing is that, if you took a little extra time and you maybe packed some snacks instead of went through the drive-through.
Yep.
Right? That's something you can do. Does it take time? Sure it does. But if you think about the time that you spend driving to wherever drive-through you're going through, sitting in line.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And you could probably, and so everybody has to do this on their own.
15 or 20 minutes, maybe.
Right. Maybe, depending on where you're going. Okay. How long would it have taken you to pack a snack? Right.
Yeah. I could probably pack a snack in 10 minutes at home if I thought ahead to have snackable things at home that I picked up from the store when I went to the store. So I'm really just thinking ahead, like a little bit.
Yes, it is. It's just planning ahead. You plan the day. Okay, Susie has to get to soccer and this blah, 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 blah. Okay, we'll run through the drive-through. Okay, but you have to think about where you're going to go. So really it is. It's just planning ahead a little bit. Yeah. And so there are so many things that we can do. So that's one of the first things we can do is look at how we can get more out of our own kitchen and out of the grocery store and specifically out of the produce aisle. Right. That's the big one because I was also came across an article. And again, these are out there, you guys. There's nothing hidden of any of this agenda, but looking out there is that if we would improve our intake, the health rate, again, 80% preventable, right? The health need for health care, the need for medications, the need for all of these things would decrease. So it is very much in our control. And if you think about when you talk about the money aspect of this, Camille, we spend $3.4 trillion a year on healthcare. Americans do.
That's really a lot of money.
It's really a lot of money, right? And so if you think about, okay, is it worth planning ahead? Probably, Yeah.
Yeah. And when you say the produce, I think that's an important point of that planning ahead is like planning to pick fruits and vegetables for snacks. Because if I bring donuts for snack, from the snack aisle, it's probably not the best choice of snack. So
absolutely not the best choice of snack. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, in the 5-a-day campaign, we all remember that, right?
Yes. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Now it is more matters because it's more matters. So you can't get enough. Half your plate in fruits and vegetables. Really? How many of us do that, right? I just think of dinner last night. Okay, we had pasta. I put fresh cilantro on it. And the canned tomatoes, I'm not too sure they count in the tomato sauce, right?
Well, they have to count for something. They're still fruits.
Right. Maybe there's a little bit there, but so processed.
Right. Not fresh.
Okay. Yeah. Not fresh. I didn't take tomatoes, either off the produce aisle or out of my own garden.
It's too cold right now. They're not ready.
Right. It's not. They're green still. Yes.
They are ready.
Right.
Yeah.
But really, it does come down to lifestyle. It comes down to what I put in my mouth.
Yes.
And then we have found, okay, so a lot of us know, and this was me actually, I was fit. I've never really been super overweight. I'm sure 10 pounds maybe.
Sure.
I was fit. I used to run. I could, and of course we've got stories, you and I, about athletic events, right? But I was fit and I was thin, but I was not healthy because I thought I could out exercise my bad diet. And you can't do that either. Okay.
Really?
Okay. So what we know now, is it's the combination of less stress, sleeping, drinking plenty of water, exercise, and what you eat. all of those things are synergistic.
Okay.
They all help each other. So what we know now is to get the full benefit, to have the full gamut, and it doesn't mean you're going to be immortal, right? But to have the best quality, because another topic to think about is I don't want quantity, I want quality.
Right.
I don't know of anybody who's sitting in any nursing facility or home or wherever that feels like crud and is like, woohoo, this life is great, right?
Yeah.
I don't think so. They hurt, they're depressed, they're not living life. So I always say I would rather live slow and die fast, right? I don't want to be miserable for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So I would rather do some things that are going to help my quality, and that's what we have proof about in there. And
So I really like that point,
together.
because basically you can't just exercise a ton and eat all the junk and feel like it's okay, I'm making up for it. It doesn't work that way, is what you're telling me. Is we now know that's not for reals. You can't just
It's not for reals. Now there are some exceptions, right? Some people have a genetic whatever magic,
right, of course,
do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
The rest of us have to work at it.
Okay. And so then that probably works in reverse too. I can't just eat super healthy fruits, vegetables, fresh stuff all the time and never move and expect to get all of the health benefits.
Correct.
Okay. And then you brought up the stress piece, which I hadn't thought about in terms of this particular discussion, because I was thinking more food and exercise, but I think that's a great point, because it really does make a big difference in how you feel.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, it is. I think that's an area that is underappreciated. And at least what I see in my patients, lots and lots of anxiety. And it's heartbreaking because they're fearful for whatever reason, right? And I almost feel like sometimes I'm more of and I know nothing about psychotherapy. Okay, I'm not even going to pretend to go there.
Right.
But I know people, and working with people for 20 years, when they're fearful, they're not healing, period.
Yeah.
Anxiety, stress, fear, to me that is stress, whether it's emotional stress or physical stress. It is, I think it has an exponential weight on what we're doing. And so eating right and exercising doesn't mean if I'm living in a toxic environment or working in a toxic area, that's stress. I may be getting through the day like, I can brush that off. Well, guess what? Deep in, you're really not. And I see that come out. And the more that I'm able to coach a person through, just getting them through what I'm seeing them for, I see that once they realize they can let that guard down, they begin to heal.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, what I see, my perception of that is their problem was going to get better with or without me, right? The body heals all by itself.
Yeah.
But once I kind of gave them permission to go, this is not my problem. I need to concentrate on me. Magic happens. And so I think that's a whole part of the thing is we've got to look at those areas that we can control. Some we can't, right? Sure. But so that's another area that other people that you and I know can help you with that. But that's a big factor in what's going on. So it's a big
factor. Because the stress, I've done it too. Hold that stress in your body, and I've given myself an ulcer holding stress in my body. That went really, really well as I was opening a business, and then had to take 2 weeks out being sick because I couldn't get out of bed and I couldn't eat. So,
But and what did that cost you? And what did that cost you?
Oh yeah, it was expensive.
Right, exactly.
You're right. It cost a lot.
Cost a lot.
It was extremely stressful and difficult and damaging to my health. So that'll do it.
Yep. Yes, it will.
Yes. Okay, so let's say we chatted about food a little bit, and we talked a little bit about the exercise piece. What about the supplements piece? Because I know you hope you can get everything from your food and your diet and your exercise, and all the pieces fit together and it's awesome. But I hear more and more that that's not true, and you really can't quite hit all of the stuff easily. It's doable. I'm sure it's doable. but then you've got to, you've got to have the book and the certain things and maybe hire a nutritionist to make all your food for you. And if I could do that, it'd be awesome. I would love somebody to just make all my meals for me.
Right. We'd all be healthy.
We'd all be healthy. That's right.
Yeah.
So how do we narrow it down? Because you go to the store and it's just rows and rows, and then you talk to people, and then everybody's got a different opinion of what would be best. How does one even start to figure this out?
Well, that's the road that I sent my husband down, because when my light bulb went off, I went, honey, we've got to start somewhere. And first of all, no, you hit on a good point when you said rows and rows and rows. The supplement industry in America, $230 billion industry.
Wow.
Okay. We Americans are spending money on supplements because we got to start somewhere.
Right.
Like, okay, I got to do something. What I'm doing is not working. I don't know how to change what's in my kitchen.
Right.
Whatever. Right. So I can go get a pill, because we are in a society that doesn't the pill fix it. Okay. Can't blame us. And we drive what's in the store, by the way. That's another topic. Maybe one of these days we can talk about that. But so my husband started researching vitamins. Right? Okay, well, let's see.
Yeah.
Well, then the more we researched vitamins, and by the way, there are only 13. Okay. What we learned was vitamins are important. Don't get me wrong. What we're now learning is the whole food, the phytonutrients, which is what a vitamin is, by the way, thousands and thousands of them. And we don't even have them all named, because science has to nomenclature and categorize and classify, and it takes a long time for them to figure this stuff out and make names for it and catalog it so we can call it something, right? Like vitamin C. But so as Bob started learning that not all vitamins are alike, and there's different forms. Liquid is, as far as I know, this stuff is still true. Liquid is the most bioavailable. Okay. A capsule is the second best, or a liquid gel, a capsule, and then a tablet. Because they superheat them to compress them, almost no bioavailability. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So we started going, okay, where can we get liquid,
Yeah.
So, and literally he spent 2 years before the internet even was what it is today, finding the forms that were going to be the best bioavailability for us. Mm-hmm. And then what was interesting is we still didn't have any proof. We were literally on blind faith going, okay, this one's at least liquid. It was made in the United States. We think we're okay, because there's no regulation, which might be good and might be bad. Okay. Because we know what regulation sometimes does. It can go haywire, but it can also serve us, right?
Yes.
So there's no regulation. And so marketing is what makes us decide things usually. So, but my PT brain, my science brain was going, okay, I need some proof that these things are working. I took them on blind faith because I had to start somewhere, and I was really kind of desperate. So I just started taking something that my husband researched. Stuff was coming from Canada and from Colorado, and we don't know where. I'm like a box would show up.
Well, if it doesn't kill us, maybe it'll help, right?
Right. And I spent a lot of money on that. I want you to know. Mm-hmm. Every month I had my little handful, and I'm not exaggerating, of pills because, and this is important because this is food and I didn't know it then, vitamins and other supplements work better together in combination, just like our bodies do. Imagine, right? So if you don't have stress, you're sleeping well, you're drinking water, the package, right? Phytonutrients, chemicals in our body also work better together. So I had to take the C and the E and the D and the magnesium and the blah, 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 blah to get all of these things to get into my system. Mm-hmm. I still had no proof. Okay.
Right.
So how I found what I take now is in my dentist's office. He had a product, and it's a whole food product. And I'm like, well, why did you decide to have this in your office? Because at the time I was hiring and firing doctors to get an answer to my questions. Yeah. What's causing this? Why can't I come off of 5 allergy medications? What is the steroids going to do to my bones? And, I knew back then osteoporosis was coming. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, got to get off of the steroid stuff. So I was asking some probably not popular questions of healthcare providers, right? But I knew I had to take care of me. The system wasn't going to take care of me. So when I asked the question, why do you have, and the product is called Juice Plus, why do you have this in your office to this dentist? He said, they could prove to me it worked.
Nice.
I about rolled out of the dentist chair. And I said, what? You know,
Right.
and he said, no, really. And I said, okay, talk to me about that, right? Like, you really now have my attention. And you
Yeah,
probably have my
I am
business
fully
just
listening.
because you
Say
were,
more things.
right, right, light bulb. And so he started to talk to me about the studies about bioavailability with this product, and that it's just food. It's not broken down into just vitamin C, vitamin E, whatever. It's the whole thing put together, dehydrated, put into a capsule. I'm like, how fast can this show up in my doorway? I mean,
Yeah.
like, really?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get all the things that were on that label, nor could I get them vine ripened. I knew that too. We were learning. The fruit has to be vine ripened.
Mhm.
All the nutrition, the Jolly Green Giant commercials even tell you that, right? We wait until the very last minute to package our green beans, right? I mean,
I love that you remember that, because now that you say it, I'm like, I've totally seen that commercial.
yes, exactly,
So
right? Vine ripened, right? I mean,
right.
that's why all the nutrition comes in those last, those last stages of that produce, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what the Juice Plus company does with their produce. It's vine ripened. They contract with the farmers and say, hey, we want it done this way. Do it or not, and we'll work or not, right?
Yeah.
And so then the potency and the bioavailability of that product is just off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And they can prove it. And I'm like, I'm in. At least I have some proof.
Somebody's done a study on the thing I'm taking.
Right. Somebody tell me, right? And so that changed everything that we did. And it was a catalyst to get some other things going.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I will forever be grateful for that dentist to go, they could prove to me. I went, oh, that's what I needed to know.
Yeah.
So and it doesn't mean that you maybe don't need vitamin C. Okay. It doesn't mean those things. You might need a dose of vitamin C for a temporary period of time. That's very possible. A lot of us are D deficient because we don't get outside like we used to. Yeah. Right. So there are instances when an individual vitamin is a good thing, but go get your blood tested to find out. Right.
Yeah.
Find these things out before you just start willy-nilly, because there was also an article, I believe it was in Time magazine, it was in a couple of the others, where they did a study on just over-the-counter multivitamins and found them to actually be harmful.
Oh, wow.
And so they went, okay, we've got, and then those people went back and looked at all the other studies done on vitamins and were like, they're not preventing anything, they're doing harm. And I think it's because we as people were looking for an easy answer, right? We were like, okay, let me just go take this because I don't know what else to do. I'm not willing to change my kitchen yet. Which is okay. Of course it's convenient to take the pill. And so I think that's where some of that stemmed. Was, look, you don't make sure you need that before you just go take it. And then without regulation and without proof, who knows that what you're getting in your capsule or your tablet or your whatever is actually in there. Right. And so there's some other agencies, which is what made me really impressed with Juice Plus again. They have an outside certification agency who comes in and goes, okay, I'm taking this whole batch and I'm going to go test it to see if what's on the label is really what's in the product. Yeah. And it's called the National Sanitation Foundation, NSF. And so you'll see that on all kinds of stuff. And they independently test it and they go, okay, no, you're good. There's no contaminants. There's no extra things in here. It's just what you say it is.
So no extra stuff in, and for reals, all the stuff you said was in is actually in.
Was actually in.
That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, so those are the two things that, after our 2 years of looking for stuff to take from I don't know where, because I just was, so look for whole food products, vine ripened products. Yep. And things that have some proof behind them. I would love for any of you that find those besides Juice Plus to let me know. Yeah, okay? Yeah. Because to my knowledge, it's not out there. That's why I jumped on with that and have been very happy with it ever since. And by the way, came off all of my allergy meds. Nice. Off all my steroid-based stuff, right? So I don't have osteoporosis now that I am older. And I'm grateful, just entirely grateful. So so supplements matter. What you take matters. Start looking. I think you're going to be surprised. Spend a little time before you invest that money. Because it's, we're spending a lot on it, right? If we're spending $203 billion, we're spending on it.
We're spending a lot on it.
You're
Yeah,
spending a lot on it. Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that's a great point, is to know what to look for, to go actually get a blood test to figure out what you need, what you're missing. That's a great idea, to start from a place of knowing where you're deficient rather than just grabbing something off the shelf, and doing a little bit of research to see if anybody's tested that product before you decide to buy it and take it. Yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. And so you kind of briefly brought it up that, this stuff isn't inexpensive. A lot of us do drive through because we feel like it's going to be easier, or it's going to be maybe a little less expensive than taking the time to buy quality ingredients, which, depending on the size of your family, probably isn't the case. But spending the money to go get a supplement product or join an exercise program that you'll stick with and stuff like that, what does that look like on the other side when you didn't spend the money on those things? What's the investment going to be later? Because you'll probably be really motivated to spend the money when you're having the heart disease or whatever it is.
Right.
What do you kind of see on your end from patients that where they're having to spend the money later?
Well, I think I'm going to answer your question.
Okay. I didn't really phrase it as a very good question, but
yeah, that's okay. Well,
concept.
yeah, no, it's basically a pay me now or pay me later thing. Right? It is.
Okay, yeah.
It is that. It's how much are you going to spend on either side? We don't know, right? I don't know that. However, did you know, and you might know this because you're in the money world, 66% of bankruptcies are health related.
I did know that.
Yes.
And so, I think 52% of small business closures, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Okay.
Something like that. Same health related. Yeah.
Right. That's either missed work, like you talked about. You were gone the first 2 weeks you tried to start your business.
Thank goodness I had partners.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know when I was fighting sinus infections and, on antibiotics all the time, I was in the doctor's office once a month. So there's my copay, right? Every time.
Right.
And then whatever my prescriptions were. And then I almost always missed 2 or 3 days of work because I was in bed with a raging sinus headache from inflammation from the, my immune system not working. So that was costing me quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I finally hit the wall, at whatever point and thought, okay, this is ridiculous. And so, now we do still, if you think about how we run our house compared to our friends and some of our peers, we probably do spend on the front end. We spend more money, I think, than most because we pay out of pocket for things that insurance doesn't cover. Because I just have a different mindset about that. And that's my choice, right? So far, we can still do that in this country, and that's great. I choose to spend my money. I'll pay cash for maybe some more expensive things, but I feel like that's cheaper than having to have, a bypass surgery or be in the hospital or something like that. Because as you well know, Camille, policies for those big events are not cheap. They're not cheap.
Well, it depends, but they can. If you start early, just like you're talking about,
right,
health, then
yes,
it
they are
inexpensive.
Right.
If you wait until you think you might need it next year, it's probably very expensive if you can even get it.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because if you think about why is it that way? Well, it's because we do get sicker as we get older because we don't take care of ourselves on the front end, I think. I really do feel that way.
Yeah.
And so, so I would much rather spend an extra $100 over here and for whatever that might be, whether it's, getting a massage to decrease my stress, right? Sure. Something like that, than to wait until I got sick and I had to go to the doctor and I'm going to spend $100 over here too. Yeah. This one's way more fun.
Right.
And, but we have those choices. I mean, and so that's where it is. And really, how we started, I started literally with the Juice Plus product. That's what got me looking into other things. And my refrigerator is now totally different than it used to be. Totally different. What's in my refrigerator now is not what used to be in my refrigerator in 2006 when I started taking Juice Plus. It was full of soda pop. It was full of cheese. It was full of all kinds of, things that were not alive. like greens are, okay?
Yeah.
Beets and carrots and, apples and things like that.
Yeah.
It was yogurt, not that yogurt's necessarily bad, but that was not that full of sugar. I didn't know that. I started reading labels and going, oh my gosh, what am I doing? So label read, that's another thing.
Reading the labels, what?
Reading, I know it's simple. It's simple, but if you start looking and if there's tons of things you can't pronounce,
maybe think about it again.
Yeah. Maybe think about that. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Okay, so now we have to make sure that we discuss the cool stuff that we've done together, because you went from allergy disaster, soreness, not missing days of work, all that kinds of stuff, to these big adventures that we've done together. So talk about that a little bit.
Oh my gosh! So hence our hats. We're in costume today, and both of our shirts. Yes. It's interesting because, like I said, I've always been active and fit. And because I had a horrible diet and a horrible immune system, I actually tore the meniscus. I have degenerative, I've got arthritis, and it's mainly in my left knee. And so my running days were over. Yeah. And so, but I thought I got to get outside. That's what I really liked about, that was my de-stressor. Okay. I wasn't fast. I wasn't good. Yeah, but it was like, you put your shoes on, walk a little bit, warm up, and take off and run. Well, two things, actually. My running form was horrible. As a PT, I should have known that. But I was running before I was really good at being a PT. But my nutrition stunk. And I didn't realize what sugar was doing to my connective tissue, to my ligaments, to my joints. And so my knee, it literally just tore. My meniscus just tore.
Wow.
I had no real mechanism. And even my orthopedic surgeon, my favorite orthopedic surgeon, was like, what happened? I'm like, I was running. He goes, what? He goes, you weren't cutting? I go, no, I was just running, like, do, my little slow little pace. And he's like, this does not make sense. I said, I know. What's going on? And then I started, that was all around the same time that I was going, my patients are sick. I'm sick. I tore a meniscus. What the heck? So that led into, though, finding other ways to get outside. Okay. Right. So we took the kids on a family vacation one year and we basically did a big loop in the western part of the United States. So we left Oklahoma and let's see if I can remember this, but we went to Lake Powell and then over to Vegas. I can't remember, but we did Lake Powell, Vegas, what's the big dam? Hoover Dam.
Hoover, yep.
And then we ended up in the Grand Canyon, which is where we started, right? You and I have a big adventure. Went to the Grand Canyon and we drove through Bryce. So we did kind of a bunch of stuff around there. Yeah. Well, when we stopped at the Grand Canyon, I was like, okay, and we're driving through. Let's just go take a look and see this big hole. Well, we looked over and I was overwhelmed with awe, with holy cow. I mean, literally, it was practically a spiritual experience. I get chills when I even think about it. And so once I came back into reality, my husband's going, hey, can we, it's time to go. And I start, once I get over the overwhelm, I start seeing that there's like trails and paths and stuff's moving down there that what is that? So I get binoculars and I look down and there's people on horseback. And I'm like, how did they get there? And I kind of thought, and I'm like, oh, there's trails. How did they, right? So my mind starts, I'm like, oh, I got to do, right? Yeah. So so what was comical was my husband and his two kids, they bailed.
Yeah. They're like, okay.
I took my daughter's friend. Yeah, they're like, we're good. We don't know what you're doing, whatever your problem is, but we're going to go get in the car. And so, because we've been standing there for, 15 minutes. How long can you look over, well, I was just getting started. But anyway, sure. So, but my friends, actually my daughter's friend, she was kind of having the same experience. And I look at her, I'm like, let's go down that trail a little bit. Can we do this? Right. So here we are in our flip-flops.
Right. Sure.
No real protective anything. And, holding our soda pop or a bottle of water and down the Bright Angel Trail we go. Yeah. And we actually get all the way down to the 1.5 mile house, not knowing that's what it was. We're like, oh, maybe we should turn around. So we turn around and come back out. But I got a taste. And it was, I mean, that's all it took. So we ended up in Phoenix at the end of our whole big thing. My husband had a conference. We were going to put the kids on a plane back home for adults on the other side to pick them up. Okay. Yeah. Well, my husband got out of his conference early. I'm like, babe, you're taking me back to that Grand Canyon. I got to figure out how to get down there. So that started the addiction. And I'm not kidding you. It is an addiction. We had hiked it then. Camille, I can't remember when I talked to you, and we hiked it maybe 7 or 8 times.
We
I got to do it.
Talked about it in 2000. Oh, I want to say we went in 2017 Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
So we started talking in 2016. So however many times you'd been before 2016.
Quite a few. And we've been to the bottom like 5 or 6 times. And so, okay. Yeah, so Camille and I, we start talking about the Grand Canyon, and I had done at the time, I had walked across it one time. So literally one side down the river, back up to the other.
Yeah.
Depending on which trail you take, it's a marathon distance. It's 24, 26 miles.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and 10,000 plus feet of elevation change. So it's not like a little hike. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Normally we had broken that up. Well, a friend of ours went with us one time, and he used to run, marathon runner. I was a casual runner. He was a marathon runner. And if you guys look it up if you want to look it up on YouTube, there are all kinds of athletes and ultra runners who run this thing. I'm like, I have no desire to run in the Grand Canyon, but great. I'm glad you could do that. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, so we're seeing these people run by us. I mean, they're literally running. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let me get out of the way, and all that. So my friend Tom, though, he, former marathon runner, he kind of starts to feel a little bit of that adrenaline pull from those runners, right? He's like, oh. So we finish our hike. We'd broken up another rim to rim hike in sections, and we get up to the top on the other side. We're driving home. We'd had a great trip. And he goes, Tanya, do you think we could walk across it in one day? And I went, if we go a certain way, because of my left knee, right? Yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to tear my left knee up just because we want to walk across this big ditch in one day.
Right.
So Tom and I went across it in one day in 13 hours. Yeah. And it was unbelievably exhilarating. It was amazing. And so I was telling Camille about this. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to go again. You have to go. You have to go.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. Like, I want to go. I want to go.
Yeah.
I was so excited. So excited. I could, because you said to me, we were meeting, and it was in early December. And so we were about to go into holiday season, and you're like, think about it, because it's a big deal. Yeah. We're going in, I guess that's May, right? End of May is Memorial Day weekend. So you said, we're going at end of May. You think about it. And then if you still want to do it, you call me in January and tell me if you want to do it. And I literally could not let it go for the whole month. And I called you up like January 2nd or something, like, please, can we go?
Yes, absolutely.
And I had never been there before. This was like sight unseen. I'm just going, this sounds awesome. I got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did. We did it. Yeah. And my husband had not trekked across either in one day. And so that was the thing. I was like, okay. And we had to do it a different way for him because of his limitations and where he's weak and where he's strong. And I thought, okay, we're going to go a lot slower. There ain't going to be no 13 hours. That's not going to happen because he just can't do it. And it's okay.
And I've actually had multiple knee injuries too. So for me, 13 hours was probably not realistic at all. Right. That wasn't going to happen.
Right. Well, and then like you learned, you have to have contingency plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yes. Because
things happen, right? Yes. Or it gets hotter than you thought, or it rains, and it's a temperature deal. And so that's why, you have certain equipment and certain things, and you kind of got to know what you're doing. But it was an unbelievable adventure. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It took us a long time.
Yes. 20 hours.
It did 20 hours.
Yes, because I think
we had to stop.
And
but we did it.
We did do it. And so we did north rim to the south rim, because I know some people do it the other direction. Yeah, but that's what we did, and it was officially all in one day, and it was really cool. And in fact, my daughter has told me that she would like for us to do it her senior year of high school.
Wow.
So now
Okay.
I'm like, oh gosh, last time Tanya figured out all the things and I just showed up, you know. Now I have to figure out the things. This sounds hard.
Well, don't worry. I'll figure out. I'll help you guys map that
You'll
out.
help us map it out. Okay, that would be
I'll map
awesome.
it out.
That would be awesome. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I could be like your support team along the way, going, okay, I'll
Yeah.
go down a different trail and meet y'all and go, okay, you have fun.
Yeah, you can go down and meet us when we get to Phantom Ranch or something like that.
Right.
And okay, just keep going. Just keep going.
Right. Just keep going. Yeah, absolutely. Unless it's hot, right? Oh, and then we got a whole nother thing we got to worry about. But yeah.
Yes.
But
Yep.
yeah, it was an incredible adventure. And I think about that, Camille, is, when you talk about investing in your health, I would not have been able to do that had I been the old me.
Right.
Because the energy it takes to train, first of all, you saw that, right?
Oh gosh.
You don't just show up and go for a walk. Oh, people do.
We get some people out there that were doing
Right.
it, and man, was it hard on them.
Yeah, and they almost don't make it, and they get rescued, and bad things happen when you don't prepare.
Right.
But it's a lot of wear and tear on your body. When I think about having, and you even having, bad knees.
Yes.
We shouldn't be able to do this kind of thing, right? I mean, my doctor told me, let's see, how many years ago? 2000. I think I'm 3 years out. He's like, so 3 years ago, he was like, oh no, you're going to need a knee replacement. This would have been 3 years ago.
Wow.
I'm not anywhere close to that.
Yeah.
Not anywhere close. And I'm going, nanny boo, and not to him, not to be rude, but you know what I'm saying.
Just in general, like, hey,
so
I beat that one. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was because, and I really do think it is because I have learned how I've decided to invest in my health.
Yeah.
And learn how to make my health a priority and not my entertainment or not, anything else. But we all have that choice, but it's costly if you choose to do it the other way.
Sure.
And I don't know what's your quality of life worth.
Yeah. That is a great way to think about it, is how much is your quality of life worth? Mm-hmm. So real quick before we wrap up, if somebody wants to start making changes, obviously rim to rim is not going to be your first step on the path to beginning exercise, right? We're not doing couch to rim program, in 30 days. No.
Right.
No. I think I trained for 6 months and probably would have benefited from training for at least 6 more to be really, I definitely had some canyon legs the following days, after that. Canyon knees for a couple of weeks. They just sort of felt like, whoa, that was a lot. And so, yes, training for that is a big deal if you're starting from not really training before. So what could somebody do if they're just like, okay, I want to start the exercise, the water, maybe a supplement, change my food? Where are the first teeny tiniest steps to get going in the right direction once you've made that decision? Okay, I want to invest in this. How do I make a go of it without going so far that I give up tomorrow because it was too much hard?
Well, and that is the key. A lot of people go, okay, I'm going to do it all, and they fail. Very few people can actually do that. Okay, so please give yourself some grace. Give yourself some room to go, oh, I messed that up and I ate ice cream the whole gallon, right? Because I am capable of doing that. So, but I'll give you a couple of options. I really feel strongly about the Juice Plus product. Very, very strongly. I could spend 30 minutes telling you, you'd hang up, right? You'd be like, I'm done with this girl.
I'm out. Thanks.
So I'm out. And it is an investment. It is not cheap. Well, but we talked about that.
Right.
Whole food isn't cheap anyway. An organic apple is $3. So, what are you going to do? And you can get all of Juice Plus for less than that organic apple every day. So, there's your value. But if you don't want to start on that product, just the fruit and vegetable blend, and it's okay. And it's okay if you never take it actually, but it's just, where else are you going to get it? So that's a conversation maybe we can have down the road if you're interested. But if you will start, one, by making the decision, am I ready to commit to some kind of a change? Okay, I'm going to at least drink more water. And look at how much water you drink. Do you even really drink any? I've had patients, I'm like, how much water? And they're like, does that count if I have the Mountain Dew? No, it really doesn't. Your Mountain Dew doesn't count.
Good to know.
Right. So start with the things that you know are going to be easier, that are you don't have to really change a whole lot of what you buy or how you do your life. But drinking water is one of the first things, right? That's a very easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Exercise wise, find out what you think you like. Because if, you know, if I've had lots and lots of patients, what should I do? Move. You should just move. I cannot tell you how many people I literally say, okay, every time, if you're a couch potato and TV person, so be it. Every time a commercial comes on, I want 10 sit to stands. Sit, stand, sit, stand, sit. 10 of them every time a commercial comes on. And they're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, exactly. That should not be hard, right? To be able to just sit and stand from your chair 10 times in a row. Yeah. That's a squat or a lunge, whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
If you're going to delve in a little bit more, and I really, there's lots and lots of evidence behind high intensity interval training. Mm-hmm. And don't think that you've got to go do CrossFit or Olympic lifting. Okay.
Right.
If you know what moves you can do. So if you know you can do a sit to stand from a chair, a squat, a lunge, you know, maybe a burpee, maybe some mountain climbers. If you don't know what those are, YouTube them. Okay. What, you know, jumping jacks, you know, there's all kinds of ways, just standing and bending to the side. You know, it doesn't have to be crazy, but high intensity just means that. It's like you go all out for a little bit. It's called burst training, all out a little bit, and then you rest. All out a little bit, rest, and you boop, 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 boop. It's interval training. If you're on a machine at the gym, set it on the interval setting, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. Mm-hmm. You can do that for a shorter period of time, a high intensity interval training. So let's say you do 15 minutes of exercise. You not only get the cardiovascular benefit, you get the muscle, the body weightlifting benefit, depending on your move in 15 minutes. Okay. The cool thing is there's an app. I'm going to see if I can pull it up here. It's a timer. It's called a Tabata timer. Yep. Yeah. And there's a gazillion of them out there. So let's see. Yeah. Okay. There. So it says, you know, prep time. So that's like, okay, do you need to get in a position? You work out for how long? I currently do a 30-second. I move for 30 seconds. I rest for 20. And then that's a cycle. Okay. And and then I do that 30 times. Don't start there. I had to work up to that. Of
course. Yeah. You maybe start with 5 or 10 or
maybe
something.
You start with 5. So when I get my husband going on this, when we're doing another canyon trip, I mean, he literally has a 15-minute workout. And he's never been in better shape because so high intensity interval training does not have to be, it's the intervals that get you there. So check out some moves on YouTube and you go, can I do that? Can I safely do that? I literally get a piece of paper and write out, okay, I'm going to lunge, then I'm going to do a sit up, then I'm going to do a push up, then I'm going to do, and you might do 5 of those on 20 seconds on and 20 seconds off. Yeah. You're good. Start there, right?
Somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need any equipment at home. Or let's say you're going to walk. You really, really like to walk. You like to get outside. You like to, wave at the neighbors. Yeah. Then set your Tabata timer, walk fast for 20 seconds, and then walk slow for 20 seconds.
Oh, what an easy idea.
Fast for 20 seconds, slow for 20 seconds. Maybe you're going to hop on the curb for 20 seconds. Yeah. And then you're going to walk a little bit. Yeah. Right. So, start to think outside the box. Don't think of it as exercise. Think of it as moving your body. Just move. Yeah. Women, in my opinion, do not have enough upper body strength. Mm. And I see this when they get to be older and they fall and break their hip and they need a walker or crutches for a period of time and they can't do it. Yeah. And then they're in bed. And then what happens?
It's all getting worse. Yeah.
It's all getting worse. And pneumonia sets in. Well, then complications from a hip fracture, right? We've all heard of that. And a lot of them pass away. Yeah. Women start to do push-ups on your knees even. Just do a little bit. Work on those arms. Pick up your jug of whatever and do some curls or, do some presses. You don't even have to go up here, by the way.
Not all the way extended, just a little bit.
Right. Just come up to where your elbows are at your shoulder. And you're going to get some benefit there, right? Yeah. Push up from your chair, literally with your arms, right? Have your arms do it, okay? Lots of things you can do. Just hop on YouTube and put up simple exercises, low impact exercises. It's out there. And then plug that into your Tabata and do that. But just start moving more. So more water, move more, park farther, social distance your car, into the Walmart parking lot. Okay. Right. So you can do that, right?
Yeah. I hadn't thought of that. I could totally park my car at the other end of the parking lot and walk into the store,
Yes,
and then have to walk back out to go home.
exactly.
That's not so bad. We're always searching for that spot that's like right by the door. Just take one farther back. Maybe it's even in the shade.
Right, exactly. Yeah, get it way out. No door dings.
Yeah.
You know where your car is.
That's right. Yeah, I can find it. It's the only one.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
So there's lots of different ways that you can do that. And so that's so more water, move, okay? Turn off and I'm horrible at this. We don't sleep well when we're here right before we go to bed. Okay.
At the phone. Yeah.
And I'm horrible. So you guys keep me accountable, because that's an area I'm working on. But get better sleep, right? The lack of sleeping well is a problem. And some of that's cardiovascular disease that we've, anyway, that's another topic. But yeah, so think about what you can do to change your sleep habits. And then don't think about what you can take away off of your plate. Because, if you really, I am a French fry and ice cream fanatic. I'll just put it right out there.
Yep.
Don't think about, can't have French fries. Think about adding, okay, I'm going to have the French fries, but I'm going to get a salad instead of the burger with my French fries.
Or eat the salad first, and then maybe you don't end up eating the entire burger because you're already full. So you eat half and eat the other half tomorrow, something like that.
Right.
Okay.
So think about what you can add in and not necessarily take away.
Yeah.
Because we think take away, that does not work well with our brain. But
nobody's excited about taking away.
No, we're not excited about losing what we've always had, right? That is for sure.
Right.
The other thing that I think is really quick, and it's another plug for the Juice Plus products, but if you're a smoothie person, if you have a blender, and you don't even have to add, but there's a plant-based protein powder, okay? Mm-hmm. But think about the reason some of us go to the fast food line is because we think it's convenient. Well, I will tell you, there's probably nothing more convenient than the night before, taking my blender, packing in a bunch of greens, berries, boom. In the morning, I put that in the fridge.
Yeah.
And I get out the next morning and I fill it up with whatever water I need. I pop that on the blender. I pour that in my cup and I'm out the door. And I just got 3 or 4 servings of greens because I packed them in. I got tons of plants with this stuff. And then I got berries, which are a low glycemic. They're not as sweet. But then guess what? Your body starts to go, I don't need all that sugar. And we are addicted to food. We're addicted to processed food. That's a whole nother topic, okay? But if you start adding in more of the healthier things, your brain, your gut, your bacteria, they start to adapt. They're going to revolt at first. We all know that, right? They're going to go, what are you doing to me? Okay.
So add slowly, maybe. Don't
add slowly.
Throw out everything you have and replace it in 1 week.
Just maybe go slowly and give your body some time and and then what? If you have a cheat day, you have a cheat day. But that's why I think Juice Plus really helped, because I was getting this cute little thing. I was getting the fruits, berries, greens in a capsule. And this is the plant-based omegas. But I was already getting all this in a capsule, not even thinking about what I was putting in my mouth. I was already getting whole food. And that started to change my gut, my immune system, my brain chemistry, and I had no idea. Then I stopped wanting as much all of the junk food.
The other stuff.
Right. And it can happen without this, right? But it's a longer process and it's harder to do, but it can be done. You just have to do it. Right.
Right.
And so find an accountability. Yeah.
Healthy stuff instead. I really love that concept of adding in instead of taking away.
Right.
So many times when we think make a change, we think take away. And this is fabulous to reverse that and think, well, what can I add in? Right. How can I can add in sit stands while I'm watching TV. I can add in some berries after lunch instead of candy. I can add in something and maybe I get the candy too, but then after a few days, I don't want the candy anymore because I had berries. I'm like, I don't really need it. It'll fade out on its own rather than thinking about you have to take things away.
Right.
So, and add in water. I can add in water, and then I probably won't be as thirsty. So I might not drink something else, but I added in water instead of taking away something else that I wanted. So
Exactly.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. So it really is all in our control. And the way we're going to change this 80% that we talked about before is by each of us doing it. The
Right.
reason our insurance issue is the way it is, the reason our healthcare is the way it is, because we feed into that system,
Yeah.
right? So if we stop demanding that system so much,
New
what
system.
might happen, right?
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
That
And
would
then
be
everybody's costs go down, because Camille, I'm paying for you and you're paying for me,
right.
right?
Right.
We're all paying for each other.
Yeah.
We're here together.
Yeah.
And if we all do a little bit better, it's gonna, our kids, our grandkids are gonna have a different situation. Wouldn't that be great?
Yes.
So yeah, it's all in our control. All in our control.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much. This has been so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome. If you want to find Tanya, she is Tanya K. Jackson on Facebook, or you could send her an email at tanya4juiceplus@gmail.com. So that's tanya4juiceplus@gmail.com. Thank you as well to all of our listeners and viewers. I'm your host, Camille Diaz. This show is sponsored by Serenity Financial, a Five Rings financial agency specializing in financial education, living benefits, and guaranteed lifetime income. Today's money mantra is, I make healthy investments.